Hi, welcome back to Little Reads. I'm going to be reading the next chapter of the Faraway tree. Last time we read What Can They Do Now? If you are new to the channel, I am reading chapter by chapter the Faraway tree. If you want to catch up with the story so far, please do watch my previous videos. It's quite interesting, the adventures that these friends get up to. I am a dyslexic reader, so I will be making a few mistakes along the way, so please do mind my reading. If I do make mistakes, please do comment in the comments below, which I will be looking at and seeing if I've made mistakes, because sometimes I don't realize I am making mistakes. So I would love to hear your thoughts on that. So today we're going to be reading the next chapter of the book, which is Mr. Changeabout and the Enchanter. Okay, so last time we read What Can They Do Now? So this is the next chapter, Mr. Changeabout. We have never encountered Mr. Changeabout till now, so we shall find out what Beth, Fanny, Joe and Rick find out about this new character in the Faraway tree. So let's try and find my page. We've read quite a few so far. There we go. So this is chapter 7 of the book, the Mr. Changeabout and the Enchanter. Okay, so if you want to catch up with the story, please do watch my previous videos and you can catch up all together with us. Okay. Everyone stared at Mr. Changeabout. At last, as he was the only person in the room. They thought he thought that was who it must be. He got up and came towards them. He was a fat, comfortable-looking person with a broad smile on his face. What a lot of visitors, he said. Do sit down. There was nowhere to sit except on the floor, on the stone floor, which looked rather cold, so nobody sat down. Something happened to Mr. Changeabout when nobody obeyed him. He grew tall and thin. His broad smile disappeared and frown came over his face. He looked very unpleasant person. Sit down, he roared, and everyone sat in a hurry. Mr. Changeabout looked at Saucepan Man, who had sat down in an enormous clatter. Have you got a nice little kettle that could boil enough water to make 2 mugs of hot chocolate? He said. Saucepan Man didn't hear. So Joe shouted in his ear, and he beamed, got up and undid a little kettle that he had on him. Just the thing, he said, handing it to Mr. Changeabout. Try it and see. Mr. Changeabout tried again. and became happy, looking with dancing eyes and a sweet smile. He took the kettle. "Thank you," he said. "So kind of you. Just what I want." "How much is it?" "Nothing at all," said the saucepan man. "A present for you." "Well, allow me to hand around some chocolate to you all in return for such a nice present." Mr. Changeabout and he said, "No, nice such a nice." Okay. "Well, allow me to hand around some chocolate to you all in return for such a nice present," said Mr. Changeabout. And he threw an enormous box of chocolate from a no, he fetched, not flew, he fetched an enormous box of chocolate from a cupboard. Everybody was pleased. Rick looked carefully into the box when his turn came. When his turn came, Rick looked carefully into the box when his turn came. He had stretched out for a very big chocolate of all. He stretched out a very large, very, not large, the very biggest chocolate of all. Mr. Changeabout at once changed again and flew into a rage. He became thin and mean-looking. His nose shot out long, and his eyes grew small. "Bad boy, greedy boy," he shouted. "You shan't have any of my chocolate now, horrible, greedy children." And at once, all the chocolate changed into little hard stones. Beth had hers in her mouth, and she spat it out at once. The others looked disgusted. The old saucepan man gave a yell. "I've swallowed mine, and now I suppose I've got a stone inside me. Oh, you nasty Mr. Changeabout. I'll show you what I think of your chocolates." And to everyone's surprise, Saucepan rushed at Mr. Saucepan rushed at Mr. Changeabout, knocked his chocolate all over the room, and began to shake him hard. Rattle, rattle, shake, shake. Gosh, how the old saucepan man shook Mr. Changeabout. Mr. Changeabout tried, and Mr. Changeabout tried to shake Saucepan back. But what was the good of that? Saucepan was so covered in pots and pans that no one could possibly shake him about without hurting themselves. Clant, chatter, clant, clang, 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 chatter, clang, chatter, crash. Kettles and saucepans made an enormous noise, and everyone began to laugh because saucepan looked so funny for words, too funny for words, of dancing about on the floor, pushing and shaking Mr. Changeabout. Mr. Changeabout suddenly got very big and fierce looking. Old Saucepan didn't seem to mind at all. He went on shaking and pushing at him. He shouted, "The bigger you are, the more there is to punish." So Mr. Changeabout got very small as a mouse, and ran squeakily across the floor in a fright. Quick as lightning, Saucepan picked him up, popped him into a kettle, and put the lid on. "Oh, saucepan, what, whatever will you do next?" said Joe, swiping tears of laughter from his eyes. "I've never seen such a funny sight in my life. Be careful, Mr. Change About. Be careful, Mr. Change About doesn't squeeze out of the spout." "I've stuffed it with paper," said Saucepan, tearing up some from the box of chocolate. Now he's secured. Well, what do we do next?" "We'd better go out of here," said Joe, standing up and turning toward the doorway. But what was this? There's, but what was this? There's no doorway and no door. Only a wall of rock that ran around the underground room now. "Oh no, how do we get out?" said Joe, puzzled. "This is a very magic kind of place. There's no windows, of course, because we are underground," said Rick. "What are we going to do?" "What about the chimneys?" said Fanny, running to the fire. "It looks very big. Perhaps we could put the fire out and climb up." "Well, that looks like our only chance of getting out of here," said Joe. He looked around for some water to put out the fire. He saw a water pump by the wall and went to it. He put a bucket underneath the pump and the handle up and down. The water was bright green, soon filled the whole bucket. Soon filled the bucket. Joe threw it onto the flame. It was a terrible sizzling noise, and went out at once, puffing clouds of green smoke into the room. Joe stepped onto the dead fire and looked up the chimney. "There's an iron ladder going right up," he said in excitement. "Come on, we'll get dirty, but we can't help that. Hurry before any more mysterious things happen." He went to the ladder. It was hot from the heat of the fire, but grew colder the higher he went. "That's what a long chimney," said Joe. Is everyone coming?" Yes, yes," called six voices below. Six voices below him. Joe climbed steadily upwards. At last the ladder came to an end. Joe clambered over to the top of it and found himself in a creepy place. "This looks like some kind of cellar," he said to the others as they stumbled up beside him. Look at all these stacks piled up. What do you think is in them?" "Let's look," said John. "No, let's look," said Rick, who was always curious about everything. He undid a sack and good heavens, poured out a stream of bright gold pieces. Everyone looked at it in amazement. Everybody very rich. Somebody very rich lives here," said Joe at last. "We've never seen so much gold. I can't believe that all the sacks are full of it." He undid another sack and poured out gold again. just as everyone was running their fingers through it, marveling at the gleam of shine of them, of so much gold. They heard quick footsteps overhead. A door above them opened, and gleamed of sunlight stoned on to the flight of stone, stone steps leading up from the cellar to the door. A tall man in a pointed hat looked down. Gosh, it's an enchanter, whispered Moonface in a fright. He, we must still be in the land of spells. Oh dear. Robbers, thieves, burglars, shouted the enchanter in a loud voice. Guards, come here. Capture these robbers. They are after my gold. See, they have undone 2 sacks already. We didn't want the gold, cried Rick. We only wanted to know what was in all these sacks. I don't believe you, cried the enchanter. As about a dozen small elves came running past him down to the steps to the cellar. Capture them, guards, and lock them up. The little elves pulled out the little steps. The little elves pulled everyone up the cellar steps into a big sunlit room. Its ceiling was so high that nobody could see it. Now lock them up, demanded the enchanter. Moonface suddenly stretched a kettle from the saucepan man and snapped the string that tied it to him. He went towards the enchanter fearlessly. Wait, he cried, much to the surprise of all the others. Wait, before you do this foolish thing, I am an enchanter too. And in this kettle I have Mr. Changeabout. Yes, he is a prisoner there. And let me tell you about this, that if you dare lock me up, I'll put you into a kettle too, with Mr. Changeabout. From the kettle came a small squeaking voice. Let me free, Enchanter, let me free. Oh, do let me free. The enchanter turned quite pale. He knew it was the Changeabout's voice. This is most peculiar, he said. How did you capture Mr. Changeabout? He is a very powerful person with a great friend of mine. Oh, I'm not going to tell you what magic I used. And Moonface said, I'm not going to tell you what magic I used, said Moonface boldly. Now, are you going to let us go, or shall I put you into a kettle too? I'll let you go, said the enchanter, and he waved them all toward the door at the end of the room. You may leave at once. Everybody rushed to the door gladly. They all ran through it, expecting to come out into the sunshine. But they didn't. The enchanter had played a trick on them. They found themselves going up many hundreds of stairs, up and up and up. And they came to the top, and when they came to the top, there was nothing but a round room with a small window. A bench stood at one end and a table at the other end. The enchanter's voice floated up to them. Ho, 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 I've got you nicely. Now I'm going to get my friend Wizard Willie, and he'll soon tell me how to deal with robbers like you. We are in a trap, ground jaw. Moonface, Moonface, you were very clever and very brave, but honestly, we are worse off than ever. I simply don't, I simply don't see any way out of this at all. Oh dear, okay. So the enchanter has indeed trapped them into a tall, tall tower, it seems like. Okay, then, so they are still in the land of spells. Wow, they thought they had escaped the land of spells, but they are still very much there. So the land of spells didn't disappear in the last chapter as the friend thought it did. So they seem to be trapped in the land of spells. The faraway tree is nowhere to be seen. Okay, right. So we'll see what happened to the friends now that they are trapped in a tall tower. It seems like. Right. Well, that was interesting. So we shall see what happened to the friends next time. And please do tune back soon, and we'll see what happens to the friends and how they get out of this one. So thanks for tuning in, and I will see you guys next time.